If Pereira can delete Ankalaev in under 2 minutes, does anyone at 205 actually have the right tools to survive his first read? Or are we going to pretend that footwork is going to beat that kind of pressure? What did Ankalaev miss in those first 10 seconds that ended up deciding the other 70? Now, stick with me because Pereira makes a read that makes this whole thing make sense. Here's my thesis, bold and simple. Alex isn't just powerful, he's inevitable. He bends your timing, he walks you down to the fence, and if you don't manage to hurt him early, you're probably gonna end up in a highlight reel. UFC 320 was proof of this with exclamation points. Welcome to Abner's Counterpunch. Now let's go ahead and talk UFC 320. We have Pereira versus Ankalaev, Jiří versus Rountree, and then Merab versus Sandhagen. Then we'll talk about who may be next for Alex, as the options are a little bit wild. Main event, Pereira TKO in a minute 20. He outlands 28-4 in total significant strikes, stuffs the early shot, and even stacks about 17 seconds off top while dropping those coffin nail elbows. It wasn't a brawl, it was a controlled demolition. What looks like reckless pressure is actually calibrated stalking. People just see power, I see discipline. If you notice, Pereira doesn't chase you around the octagon. He takes tiny steps, he squares up, he takes away your exits one by one. It's like playing defense with forward motion. He touches the calf early, 4 leg kicks logged, then probes with the right hand to read the shell. Ankalaev shows the tall, tight guard, and that's the cue. Pereira shifts his rear foot just outside the lead, keeps his eyes on Ankalaev's hands, and fires through the seam. Not at the face, through the glove seam. He's not aiming at your chin, he's aiming at the stitch in your guard. So as your hands are drifting 2 inches apart, he's aiming at the air in between, which is why he's able to hit you even though you're blocking. Now, I'll give Ankalaev the benefit of the doubt and say that he was trying to download data, trying to read Alex on the back foot. But if we know Alex at all, is that he's not going to give you that chance. Now, hold that thought because Jiří shows us the opposite pathway. He turns clean technique into the wrong decision by corrupting the rhythm. First 2 rounds, Khalil Rountree is cooking. Body shots, pace control, sharper hands. Most folks have him up after 10. Jiří looks a half beat behind the speed and timing. I thought this whole fight was a foregone conclusion, and then round 3 arrived, and so did the madman. Jiří decided to step on the gas. He started throwing some ugly yet beautiful combos at the same time. And that was totally not random. That was weaponized chaos, you could say. Khalil had some really good habits, but Jiří somehow made them misfire. He rallies and detonates a hellacious left hand at 3:04 of round 3. Face first canvas. Unofficial significant strikes land close. Think 41 for Jiří, 36 for Khalil, but timing beats totals. No takedowns, no clinch mazes, pure striking. And Dana called that final round incredible. The one thing that really surprised me is just how exhausted Khalil got in that 3rd round. Jiří noticed that, and if you've ever sparred before, you know that feeling. Your lungs blink, and that's when the shot lands. All right, let's flip the channel real quick. Merab versus Sandhagen. If Alex is inevitable dominance and Jiří is unpredictable chaos, Merab is like a bureaucrat with unlimited forms. He's gonna bury you in paperwork until you mentally clock out. Merab retains by unanimous decision. It scores like 49-45 twice and 49-46. He lands a knockdown in round 2, nearly ends it, then goes right back to the grinder. Across the fight, he stacks 18 takedowns, outlands 114-80 in significant strikes, and racks 8+ minutes of control. Corey has moments, maybe edges round 1, rallies late in round 4 with a sharp straight and uppercut, but every time he breathes, the machine asks another question. And if you're yelling, but Corey popped up, yeah, he did. And every time he popped up, it was like a squat he didn't plan for. And that's basically energy debt, and Merab was the IRS. And I'll admit, even though I went into the fight rooting for Merab, by the end of this fight, I was maybe even rooting for Corey. His persistence really made me a fan of him, and honestly, if he would have won, I would have been totally fine with it. Now, here's the bigger picture. We have 3 very different victories and one common denominator, and that's tempo control. Against Pereira, your lungs panic. Against Jiří, your rhythm panics. Against Merab, your choices panic. When fighters break, it's usually not the punch, it's the pace they can't slow down. Let me tell you a quick story. When I first started boxing, I had a bad habit of punching with my arms. Then coach goes ahead and tells me to move in with your feet first. And that's what I did. I walked the dude down to the ropes and I felt him tilt. I got it. That's exactly what Poatan does. He tilts pros with footsteps, Jiří does it with rhythm corruption, and Merab does it with decision density. Cool, now let's dive deeper into Pereira, as he's the gravitational center of UFC 320, and that's what decides what the UFC does next. The problem with Ankalaev is that he didn't force respect early. 4 touches is not enough to make someone like Alex stop stalking you. That's why Jiří's win here matters, because he makes you pick the wrong decision. He makes you meet discipline with chaos. So let's talk about who Alex might fight next. You might have heard 2 names being tossed around. Jiří Procházka again, right, because of his recent win. And then we have a potential super fight with Jon Jones. Imagine that. We'll hit each quick and then I'll tell you what I think will happen. Option 1, Jiří. He just iced Rountree with that comeback left. He's earned a claim. He's a former champ and stylistically he brings action every time. The rub, Alex reportedly has multiple wins over Jiří in prior matchups, and recent title fights tell a similar story. Pereira's timing and economy beat Jiří's chaos more often than not. Still, fans eat this matchup like popcorn. Option 2, Jon Jones. Heavyweight champ. That rumored White House event, the super fight of super fights. On paper, this may be just as historic as McGregor and Khabib. The best light heavyweight of all time against the most terrifying striker of this era. And both guys have a degree in mind control. If that actually happens, Alex may be in for the hardest fight of his entire career. Jon's clinch is a horror story. Inside trips, foot sweeps, wrist rights. Jones drags you into quicksand and then he knees the air out of you. Pereira will obviously still carry dynamite power because he's not coming to wrestle, he's coming to punish mistakes. But that clinch is going to be the exam that he's going to need to pass. Before we land this whole thing, a quick nod back to Merab and Corey. Corey's heart is ridiculous. He stands up when most guys mentally sit down. But Merab's combination of 18 takedowns, 114 to 80 significant, and 8+ minutes of control is a different level, man. You don't out-tough that. You need sting, frames, and exits on repeat. Strip away the lights, the noise, the hype. UFC 320 was just 3 things: breath, chaos, and decisions. Let me restate this spicy for you. Alex proved that patience can be a liability. Jiří proved that chaos can still cash in checks in round 3. Merab showed cardio can be a weapon the judges hear louder than the crowd. So what do I think the UFC does? I think the smart money move is to have Alex defend again at 205. Jiří, or hell, maybe even Jamal again, because that keeps the division moving and it gives time for the heavyweight chessboard to settle down for a potential Jon Jones mega fight. And if it's Jon, man, I'm gonna have to dig deep into my savings to see that in person. But here's the wild part. The UFC arena is not the only one looking to shake things up in combat sports. Zuffa just entered the game with boxing, and it'll prove that it'll either be the savior or the destroyer of boxing. So click here for that breakdown, and while you're at it, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Catch you later.